Chosen one, there is a prophetic reason you are hearing these words right now. This moment is not random. It is not coincidence. It is not chance. Heaven itself has aligned events, timing, and circumstances so you would arrive here at this exact point, at this exact second, to receive this word. God is saying, pay attention, because this is not a casual message. This word carries spiritual weight. It carries authority. It is a divine unveiling of who you are becoming in this next season of your life. The version of you that you have been looking at, the one shaped by mistakes, delays, fear, disappointment, and unfulfilled expectations, is not the final picture. That is not the full story. That is not the person heaven sees. God is revealing that the identity you have grown used to is temporary. It was shaped by process, not destiny. What you are about to step into will be so different, so refined, and so powerful that even you will pause and ask, how did I become this person? And the answer will be simply God finished what he started. Right now, you may only see the weight you've been carrying. You see the scars left behind by betrayal. You see the residue of battles you had to fight alone. You see the exhaustion that comes from standing when it would have been easier to give up. But heaven sees something else entirely. Heaven sees a chosen vessel that has been refined through pressure, preserved through warfare, and guarded through seasons where quitting seemed reasonable. God is saying, the fire did not consume you because it was shaping you. Transformation in God rarely looks impressive at first. It doesn't follow human logic or timelines. It often begins in obscurity, confusion, and silence. That's why many people misunderstand the process. They judge what they see now and assume that's all you'll ever be. But God never evaluates a seed by how it looks underground. He judges it by what it was created to become. And right now, you are still underground, but growth is happening. Think about how God has worked throughout Scripture. Saul didn't look like Paul when he was persecuting believers. Joseph didn't look like a ruler when he was thrown into a pit and sold as a slave. Peter didn't look like a pillar of the church when he was denying Christ out of fear. In every case, the calling was real long before the transformation was visible. God always sees the end from the beginning, even when the beginning looks broken. This is why this moment matters. Destiny does not wait for comfort. Calling does not wait for confidence. God is about to move you into a season where hesitation will no longer be an option. The shaping you've been experiencing was not meant to keep you small. It was meant to prepare you for what you are about to carry. And what you are about to carry will require a version of you that the old mindset could not sustain. If your spirit feels stirred right now, that is not emotion, it is recognition. Something deep within you is responding because this word is confirming what heaven has already been whispering. This is your moment to agree with God. Agreement unlocks alignment. Alignment unlocks acceleration. When you respond in faith, you are not just reacting to a message, you are stepping into position. That's why obedience in moments like this matters. When you like, share, and align yourself with what God is releasing, you are declaring, I receive what heaven is saying about me. And for those who sow into this work, understand this truth clearly: your giving is not a transaction, it is a covenant response. Seeds speak. Seeds declare trust. Seeds move heaven in ways effort never can. God is watching who responds when the word goes forth. Not everyone hears, and not everyone believes. But those who respond are marked. Heaven recognizes faith even when it's expressed in simple acts of obedience. And God is saying, I will honor those who honor my voice. Stay here. Do not scroll away. Do not disengage. What is coming next will bring clarity to what you have been feeling but couldn't explain. God is about to reveal how this transformation will unfold, why this timing is intentional, and what it means for your future. And when you understand it, you will never see yourself the same way again. Right now, heaven is leaning in. Angels are attentive. The Spirit of God is working beneath the surface of your heart. You are not listening to this by accident. You were led here because you are ready. Ready to shed an old identity. Ready to release old limitations. Ready to step into a version of yourself that has been waiting for permission to rise. This is the beginning of an unveiling. Not something forced, not something rushed, but something ordained. God is not creating something new. He is revealing what He placed inside you long ago. And as this process begins, even you will be surprised by the strength, clarity, and authority that starts to emerge. Chosen one. The journey ahead will require faith, but it will also reveal favor. The pressure you endured was proof that you were being prepared for more. And now, the season is shifting. What was hidden is about to be revealed. What was restrained is about to be released. And the person you are becoming will make every step of the process make sense. This is only the beginning. You believe you know yourself. You think you understand your limits, your abilities, your capacity, and how far you can go. You've measured yourself by what you've seen, by what you've experienced, and by what others have spoken over you. But God is saying that what you see is only a fragment, a partial reflection, not the completed image. You have been looking at yourself through the lens of your current condition, instead of through the lens of your divine calling. Heaven has always seen more in you than you have been able to see in yourself. There are layers within you that have not yet been uncovered. There are gifts that have been dormant, not because they don't exist, but because the timing was not right. There are strengths buried beneath seasons of pain, disappointment, and silence. But hear this clearly: pain is not your prophecy. Trauma does not define your future. Heaven is still writing your story, and the chapter you are standing in right now is not the conclusion. God is whispering to your spirit, what you see today is only the seed. What I have ordained is the harvest. You may feel like you have been buried, overlooked, or pushed aside. But God says you were not buried to be forgotten. You were planted to grow. The soil you've been in was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to nourish what God placed inside you. Seeds must be covered before they can break open. They must experience pressure before they can release what they carry. And just like a seed, you cannot judge your future by how hidden your present feels. Think about how a seed looks once it is placed into the ground. It appears small, lifeless, and insignificant. To the untrained eye, it looks like the end. But inside that seed is an entire future: roots, branches, fruit, and multiplication. The seed itself cannot imagine the height it will reach or the impact it will have. Yet everything it needs is already encoded within it. In the same way, God has placed spiritual DNA inside you that contains assignments, influence, testimonies, and breakthroughs you have not yet seen. This is why God has been protecting your process. Even when it felt like delay, denial, or disappointment, heaven was guarding what was growing. Not everyone is allowed access to you while God is forming you. Some doors stayed closed not to punish you, but to preserve you. Some relationships ended not because you failed, but because they could not follow you into where God was taking you. What you called loss, God called protection. Scripture tells us that it has not yet been revealed what we shall be. That means the full expression of who you are is still unfolding. Heaven already knows the end, but you are walking through the middle. And when God begins to reveal what He has been developing in secret, even you will be amazed at the transformation. the strength that rises in you will feel unfamiliar. The clarity you begin to walk in will surprise you. The authority you carry will silence the voice that once told you that you were not enough. Look back at your life and consider the moments you thought would break you. The nights you cried alone. The seasons where you questioned whether God was still with you. The times you felt misunderstood, rejected, or invisible. The fact that you are still standing is not accidental. Survival was not random. It was intentional. God preserved you because your story was not finished. Every tear you shed watered something that would later grow into purpose. What is coming out of you will quiet every voice that ever doubted you, including your own. You are not stepping into a slightly improved version of who you were. You are stepping into a new creation. What once weakened you will now strengthen you. What once intimidated you will now bow to the authority God is releasing through you. The areas where you felt the most insecure will become the places where God displays His power most clearly. Think about Joseph. When he was thrown into the pit, no one could have imagined that he was carrying the wisdom that would one day preserve nations. His brothers could not recognize the ruler he became because the transformation was so complete. The same God who elevated Joseph is working behind the scenes in your life right now. And when the unveiling comes, the version of you people once knew will no longer exist. You may feel like nothing is changing on the outside, but God is doing deep work on the inside. Transformation always begins internally before it ever becomes visible. Roots must grow before fruit appears. Foundations must be strengthened before elevation comes. And God is far more concerned with who you are becoming than with how quickly you arrive. Heaven has never been confused about your future. Long before people believed in you, God already did. Long before you understood your calling, it was already written. This is why your trials could not destroy you. This is why the enemy's plans failed. This is why you were sustained when others fell away. You were preserved by prophecy, not by chance. Even now, as you listen, something is aligning inside you. Old mindsets are being challenged. Old limitations are being exposed. God is expanding your capacity to see yourself the way He sees you. And as that alignment takes place, you are being prepared for a level of transformation that will surprise you. The season you are in is not evidence that you are behind. It is evidence that God is working deeply. What feels like delay is often divine development. What feels like stillness is often strategic preparation. And when the time comes for what God has been forming to be revealed, it will happen suddenly, clearly, and powerfully. You are closer than you think. The seed is already breaking open. The growth has already begun. And the harvest that will come from your life will prove that nothing you went through was wasted. This transformation is not sudden. It is not accidental. It was planned before your first breath, before the world recognized your potential, and before anyone believed in your future. God saw you, marked you, and called you long before you ever understood your purpose. Your life is not a series of random events. It is a scroll sealed in heaven. Every trial, every delay, every moment of doubt has been part of the preparation for what God has always intended. You are not becoming someone new to God. You are simply stepping into the fullness of who He created you to be. Think of it this way: the caterpillar does not wake up as a butterfly overnight. It must first enter the cocoon, a place of darkness, pressure, and complete transformation. Inside the cocoon, it appears lifeless, even broken. But in reality, it is being redesigned. The old structure dissolves so that a new creation can emerge. The same is happening in your life. What feels like isolation, pressure, or stagnation is actually God breaking down old limitations so that a new version of you can rise. This is not punishment. This is preparation. What you may have perceived as delay is really divine timing. What looks like hardship is actually the blueprint for your breakthrough. Some of you are still in your cocoon season. You feel unseen. You feel unheard. You feel as though nothing is moving despite your prayers, your fasting, your obedience, and your persistence. But God is saying to you, this hidden season is sacred. It is the place where He is building strength in your wings. The pressure you are feeling is strengthening your resolve. The silence you feel is teaching you to hear His voice more clearly. The isolation you experience is preparing you to stand alone in authority when God releases you. And when He finally does, you will rise with power. You will walk into rooms not to beg, but to bless. You will speak words that carry authority because heaven has empowered your voice. You will act in ways that shift atmospheres because God has prepared you for influence. When your season shifts, you will not merely survive, you will soar. The person you were yesterday will seem like a distant memory. Even you will look in the mirror and wonder, who is this? Is this really me? And heaven will answer, yes, this is who you've always been. Rise. This is the word God is releasing into your spirit today. Rise above fear, rise above doubt. Rise above the labels and limitations placed upon you by people, circumstances, or even your own mind. The enemy wants to keep you bound in the past, trapped by the identity that no longer belongs to you. But God is calling you into your future, a future of freedom, authority, and divine favor. You are stepping into the version of yourself that has been hidden in Christ all along. This is not arrogance, this is alignment. This is not pride, this is prophecy fulfilled. The world will watch as God unveils the person you were always meant to be. Consider Gideon in the book of Judges. Gideon was hiding, trembling with fear, doubting his worth. Yet the angel of the Lord called him a mighty warrior. Gideon could not see what God saw. He questioned his identity. But heaven's declaration over him was true long before he believed it. The same is happening in your life. God is calling you into a version of yourself that has always existed, a version you could not yet recognize because it had to be prepared, strengthened, and tested in secret before it could be revealed. What you once thought impossible, you will now do with ease. The platforms that once seemed unreachable, you will now stand on them with authority. The victories that once seemed unattainable, you will now walk in them with confidence. What the world called weakness, God is turning into strength. What the world called limitation, God is turning into opportunity. What the world called delay, God is turning into divine timing. And the life that once felt small, constrained, and invisible is about to become a testimony of glory, authority, and supernatural impact. God's timing is perfect. Nothing is random. Every tear you shed, every lonely night you endured, every moment you persevered in obedience, God has been taking note. Psalm 126 tells us that those who sow in tears will reap with shouts of joy. The work you've done in secret will be revealed publicly. The prayers you whispered in the darkness will echo in the light. The faithfulness you maintained when no one was watching is now creating a platform for your elevation. Do not measure your present by what you see. Do not allow your current circumstances to define your future. God is always working in the unseen. The roots of your destiny are growing quietly beneath the surface, and when they rise, they will be undeniable. What you believed was a season of loss is actually a season of preparation. What you thought was abandonment is actually divine positioning. What you feared was destruction is actually God constructing a foundation that cannot be shaken. Rise, chosen one. Step into the fullness of your identity. Step into the destiny that heaven has already written. Step into the authority the influence, and the favor that have been reserved for you since the beginning. God is about to release a supernatural power in your life that will make even you marvel at the person you have become. Doors that were once locked will swing open with divine ease. Gifts and talents that were hidden under fear, doubt, and shame will roar to life. Your words will carry weight. Your actions will carry authority. Your prayers will manifest miracles, and the glory of God will be revealed through you in ways that cannot be ignored. This is your invitation to rise, not in your own strength, but in the power of the Spirit. Heaven is watching, hell is trembling, and your transformation has officially begun. The version of you that the world once doubted, that your enemies hoped would fail, and that even you once struggled to recognize, is now emerging in fullness. Stand boldly, walk confidently, speak prophetically, move with purpose. You are stepping into a God-orchestrated elevation that has been written since eternity. Remember, this is not about pride. It is not about self-exaltation. It is about alignment with heaven's plan. It is about walking into the authority, power, and destiny that God placed in you before you were even born. This is the moment when obedience meets opportunity. This is the moment when preparation meets revelation. This is the moment when God's glory is revealed in your life in ways so undeniable that even you will stand in awe. So rise, chosen one. Rise from fear. Rise from doubt. Rise from limitation. Rise into the fullness of who God created you to be. Step boldly into the identity that has always been yours in heaven. Let the world see what God has seen all along. The unveiling is near, and when it happens, do not shrink back. Walk into it boldly, confidently, and without apology. Because this is not pride, it is prophecy fulfilled. This is your season. This is your time. Heaven has always recognized you. Now the world will too. Your rise has begun, and nothing can stop what God has ordained.